With Easter right around the corner, I wanted to share some brand new DIYs with you. I'm Rebecca Virginia, and all of the crafts in today's video are reflections of the true meaning of Easter. Let's get started. Like I just mentioned in the intro, today's video is really going to focus around the true meaning of Easter. So if this type of video is not for you, that's okay. I'll be back next week with some really fun spring DIYs featuring lots of nice florals and cute bunnies. But for this video, I am going to be focusing on Easter and its meaning. To start off, we're going to be making this little egg nest, and I have these really gorgeous scrapbooking paper books that I actually got from Temu. I think I'm going to be doing, maybe on a Tuesday, not on my typical Thursday upload day, a Temu haul, because I got some really fun stuff, especially for crafting, including these gorgeous scrapbooking paper books. So to start off with this DIY, I am taking the styrofoam eggs from Dollar Tree. I ended up going with 5, but it'll just depend on what word you want to spell out, how many styrofoam eggs that you will need. And then using I have one of the Cricut paper cutters, but you could just use scissors or whatever kind of paper cutter that you have. And I cut small strips out of our scrapbooking paper. And now I am just using a little bit of Mod Podge to adhere all of our paper strips to our egg. This really reminded me of, I think it was probably like back in kindergarten, when you used to blow up a balloon and then cover it in the Mod Podge glue newspaper, and then you'd pop the balloon and you had like an egg. Did anyone ever make that for Easter in school? I just really remember that vividly, the really gross soaking wet newspaper and how it would get the ink on your hands. You'll have to let me know in the comments below. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I really remember that. Now I'm just repeating the exact same process, cutting out my strips from the scrapbooking paper and using the Mod Podge to adhere them in all different directions around my egg so it creates this nice kind of decoupaged look. Then once I had completed all 5 of my eggs and let them dry, I used some letter stickers to spell out the word Jesus on the eggs. You could use faith, peace, or if you don't want them to have more of that religious touch, you can even write down spring or bunny or hop, really whatever words that you want to be on your eggs. Then to create our nest that the eggs are going to be in, this is a grapevine wreath that I got from Hobby Lobby 2 or 3 years ago, and it has really lasted me through the seasons. But I don't want any of my Spanish moss to be coming out the bottom of my wreath, so I actually just cut out a circle out of a calendar image, and because I reused this wreath over and over again for different seasons, I didn't want to hot glue the paper down, so I just took some tape so that then once I'm done with this for the season, I can reuse the wreath next year. I placed down some Dollar Tree Spanish moss into my wreath, and then came the kind of difficult part. It was figuring out how to lay my eggs. They didn't quite perfectly fit horizontally, so then I kind of tried to do an arc and ended up just staggering them. I liked the look that that gave. Next, I added in a mixture of Dollar Tree floral picks. All of those purple ones in the back are from Dollar Tree. And then I also went out in my yard and clipped a couple of smaller white flowers and placed those into the wreath as well. I am planning to change those out as the season goes on with different flowers from my garden. This next DIY I am extra excited to share with you all because not only is it really easy, but it's actually using some rub-on transfers that I'm very excited to share with all of you. This can be used simply as decor, or you could even use it as a bookmark, as one of my Instagram followers pointed out. To start off, I am taking the wood tag from Dollar Tree. I used this in a previous DIY that I actually really think fits the religious Easter theme, so I'll go ahead and link that above. And I love these blank tags from the Dollar Tree. They are such a great item to craft with. And I am taking some of the wallpaper stick-ons, I believe that they're called, also from the Dollar Tree. You can find them in the section usually with the picture frames. And instead of using it as wallpaper, I am basically just going to use it as scrapbooking paper and use the adhesive that's on the back of that to stick it down onto our tag. Next up, I'm going to use these gorgeous peony rub-on transfers. This is from the company Stencil. They are not paying me to talk about them. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. They just reached out and offered to send me a couple of their transfers. And as soon as I tried it out on a couple of items, I knew I had to include it in my video. These peonies are perfect for spring. They also sell stencils, and I have some really cute ones that I'm going to use for 4th of July projects. But I was just so impressed with how vibrant and bright the colors really do rub on. You can do it just like a Dollar Tree transfer, but I was so impressed with the colors. It really looks like, I don't even know how to describe it, a painting, I guess you would say. And the other really cool thing is you can use this on fabric too, which I don't think I've ever heard of a rub-on transfer that you can also use on fabric. So you can make some really cute baseball hats out of these. I then cut out this Bible verse using my Cricut machine, but if you don't have a Cricut, you could always print this out onto some clear sticker paper or try to freehand it. I will have linked down below a free printable with this verse on it if you choose to do it that way. Speaking of free printables, I am also going to have this one linked down below, the cross with the "He is risen" saying. So I will have that link down below for all of you. I've had this one in my design space for a while and wasn't really sure what to use it on, but if you've been following me for a while, you know that I am obsessed with the blank signs the Dollar Tree came out with. I actually picked this one up a little bit before Halloween, and I have just been using it for lots of different holidays. I use my removable vinyl on all of these kinds of projects, but if you print it out, then you can just use some tape instead of glue or Mod Podge so that you can easily change it out with different seasons. The sign was looking a little bit plain to me, so I did go ahead and add some of my wood flowers into the bottom right-hand corner. Also, I will say it's a bit more vibrant in person. I couldn't quite capture it in videos and pictures, but I think if I were to do it again, I would have used a darker pink because this one is a little light and a little bit hard to see. So learn from my mistakes and go with a darker vinyl or a darker coloring. The next 3 DIYs are my absolute favorite Easter-inspired crafts from last year, so I wanted to include them in this video for you as well. Let's start off with this trio sign. The main supply in this DIY is a wood trio sign from the Dollar Tree. They come out with these for every season. They have them, of course, now for Easter. They had them for Christmas and even during the fall. I always pick up a couple, especially when they do the 2 for $1.25 sale after the holidays. And I put on a little bit of the blue painter's tape just over the ribbon because it was a really pale pink and I was scared of getting any of the super dark, of course, black paint on the ribbon. So that is the reason why I put down the paint, and it kind of worked for 2 purposes, not only concealing the ribbon, but also it held the wood signs in place as I painted them. I did sand off a little bit of the glitter that was on the signs. I did that outside so I didn't get glitter everywhere, and then I just painted them black. Using my cutting machine, I cut out 3 words: faith, grace, and saved, that I thought really embodied the Easter season, and then I just put those down in the upper right-hand corner of our wood sign pieces. Next, I am taking some jute and I am just wrapping this, not really in any rhyme or reason, in the bottom 3rd section of our sign. And I'm going to do this on each of the 3 smaller wood pieces in this sign. I was really happy with how the black paint turned out on this Dollar Tree sign. It really made it look so much more high-end and almost like a metal or a slate material, especially from afar. So I was really happy with using black. It's not a typical spring color, so I wasn't sure at first how it would turn out, but I ended up really liking it. And then to add in more of that rustic touch, I did decide to go back in with some jute along the bottom. And usually I use hot glue, but for this project, I thought maybe I could repurpose the sign at a later date and add in different words for a different holiday. So I am just using tape. I was also being impatient and didn't want to wait for my hot glue gun to heat up. So I was just taking a bit of that duct tape to hold the jute back. And once I had added the jute to all 3 sections of my sign, I really liked it, but I wanted a bit more uniformity and not just a ton of string wrapped around at the bottom. So I took a smaller piece of jute and just cinched all the strings of jute together, kind of in the bottom right. I really liked the effect that it gave. It was a really pretty diamond shape. So I went ahead and did that to all 3 sections of our sign before moving on. And now is the really fun part, or at least for me in the DIY, because we get to do a little bit of floral arranging, especially because our sign was so dark. I picked some very bright colored florals from the Dollar Tree, and the really great thing about this sign is you only need one very small pick of florals. So I was able to use up a lot of scraps that I had from the Dollar Tree just kind of sitting in my floral bin, and I love how vibrant and bright the flowers look against such a dark black backdrop. I wanted the DIYs in today's video to center a bit more around Easter specifically, so I decided to DIY one of the wooden crosses from the Dollar Tree. I decided to stain this. At first I was going to paint it, but I thought a light stain would look a little bit better. Even though our calendar image is going to cover up a lot of this, I figured you wanted it to have a nice stain from the sides and the back also. To do this, I am taking my Waverly stain in Antique, but if you don't own a stain, you could always just dilute some brown paint with water and do a DIY make your own stain. And then I grabbed a slightly damp paper towel and I'm just really rubbing the stain into the wood and then kind of wiping it off. And if you didn't know how to stain, that is the bare basics for beginners. Now to add some really pretty and bright colors onto our cross, I pulled out one of these new 2022 calendars, and I really liked this page for April. It had lots of pretty flowers on it, and I thought that this would look really great on the cross. So I did take my pencil and just kind of trace out the cross, but when I am cutting out this image, I'm actually cutting it smaller so that the bits of wood on the sides are peeking through. I didn't want the calendar image to completely cover the front of the cross, but more like 3/4 of the front of the cross. I wanted those edges of the brown stain to be peeking out. And to attach this down, I just took a glue stick and glued it on down. Next, I am taking some of this beaded garland from the Dollar Tree. This one has the white and the green beads on it. And I'm making a wreath that kind of resembles a crown. So I just pulled it around and made a circle formation, and then I took a little pair of scissors and pulled off and cut off the little green beads. I only wanted the white ones to remain. At first I went in with the scissors, but then found most of the time it was a lot easier to just go ahead and pull the green garland beads out. They pulled out pretty easy, but it's all up to preference. You can cut them out too. And then I just shaped it a little more and made sure that the white bead garland was a little bit more dispersed. I didn't have one huge clump of the white beads in one section. And then I glued it down to the center of our cross. And for the final touch on this, I took some lavender colored cardstock and cut it out into this tag, and then just took a black pen and wrote down blessed. And I'm just kind of centering it on top of our circle garland and then hot gluing it down so that is the center focal point on our cross. It wouldn't be a spring DIY video without incorporating some bright florals, so I thought of this DIY after I spotted these gorgeous floral picks from the Dollar Tree. Here is everything that you'll need to make this. This DIY is a pretty easy one, but I think it makes a big statement. I picked up one of these small galvanized tins from the Dollar Tree, and then I cut out the word risen and placed it onto my tin. But if you don't have a cutting machine, you can always write this out with paint or a marker. Next, to have an area for our florals to fit in, I took one of these pieces of floral foam, also from the Dollar Tree, of course, and placed that down into our tin before adding our florals. All that I had to do with the florals was place it into the foam. I didn't even have to cut it. It was the perfect size. Then I grabbed some Spanish moss, which I love the way Spanish moss looks, but it's so messy and it gets everywhere. But I did think that it really completed the look on this DIY. And it seemed like my puppy agreed, because here he is trying to get into my floral DIY. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.